doing?
Pretty good.
Glad to hear it.
Getting close to closing here.
Yes, that's so awesome. I was just thinking about that yesterday that I should look into when you guys are closing.
Yep, it's been literally an arm wrestle since we went under contract, but we might make it through yet. So,
That is great. Well, it's a big skill to learn how to go from the offer being accepted to actually closing, because you typically will run into problems and uh, things, but making it all close and happen is a big deal. So good job to
yeah,
right down to closing.
right now we're struggling with so we wanted to push closing earlier to the 29th when the contract had originally said the 5th because for taxes on the loan.
Hmm.
And the seller said that's fine, but we can't move out until the 15th. And I was like, one, when were you gonna tell us that?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and two, my client's lease is up on the 12th, which is why we had it when it was. So I
yeah.
talked to my client about it, and I mean, like, this lady has given us problems the whole time. And so he's worried about if he asks too much, she'll just try and back out, right? And I was like, well, it's not that easy for her to just back out. And also, maybe we can find something easy, like, because he's worried if he asks her to pay rent while she stay there for the extra 10 days, she'll like get upset about it. Because I'm not kidding. Everything has been a fight with this transaction. And so he wants her to just cover the cost of what it would cost for their stuff to be in a storage for the 3 days. And I don't know how to, so I texted Dean. I'm waiting on a response because I don't know how to contract, like put that in a contract because a bill of sale doesn't feel quite right, but neither does like an addendum because it's
Yeah.
more of an upfront money thing that they need to pay than just being able to add it on to closing costs.
Yeah, that is an interesting one because even technically the sellers aren't supposed to give the buyers money as
Mm-hmm.
part of closing.
Yeah.
Um, but
So I
maybe
was
we
wondering
do
if,
just call it rent and it can be
yeah,
paid at
or
closing
like,
to your buyers. Like that's okay.
would it be possible to say, like, put in a contract, seller to pay for storage for this date to this date of like a facility of buyers choosing, kind of like
Yeah.
how they do, like with that,
Yep.
because that's kind of like how they do for like the insurance and everything, right? So, like, that's how it's
Yep.
stated in the Rep C. So it's maybe, but I'm just waiting to hear back from Dean on it because that's kind of a,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
feel like
Worst case,
phrasing
you
is
could just call it
everything.
rent and do a rent back where they pay your buyers, but the rent is literally just so that you can cover your storage. So that's totally
Yeah,
doable.
but
Yeah.
like it's just been so stressful. Like we almost had to back out, like like just last week because we had the inspection done, and originally we were going to go with the USDA loan, which has kind of a stricter like needs like when it comes to the appraisal. And there are quite a few things that we were worried about with the appraisal not approving for the loan. And so like, hey, would you be like, we just want to make sure before we dump even more money into an appraisal that you'll be able that you're willing to fix things that will come up with it. And at first she was like, I'm not willing to fix anything and I'm not willing to drop the price at all. And I'm not willing to let you guys hire anybody to come fix anything. And we're like, well, like, what do you want? What do you what do you want? Oh,
Well,
but
good work getting it to close then. It sounds like this was a challenge.
yep. Rather do it now than later on in my career, though.
Yep. Yep. Learn now. Okay, well, what other questions do all of you have? If you don't have questions, I just learned about something that I think is awesome. So if you don't have anything, I have something for you.
Mine sound. I don't know, but I'm gonna make them. One is what do you tell the listing agents when they ask for feedback?
Yes, I
What
try
is
to give
common?
feedback because I feel like that is very helpful, and I want to be that helpful agent to everyone. So,
Okay. So yes,
um,
always answer to them.
yep. So I'll put it in three buckets, right? So one bucket number one is your client is going to make an offer or is thinking about making the offer. In that case, I either don't give feedback or I give too harsh of a feedback to help me with negotiations later on. Like, oh, they like the place, but they were real worried about all of these problems that they saw. That's the kind of feedback if they're going to make an offer. If they're 100% not going to make an offer, like they walked in there like, no, this is not it. I try to tell helpful feedback. It's not like if you're like, oh, the renters were still there and wouldn't let us see the property very well, and that turned off my buyers. Like that could be great feedback. The more actionable you can make it, the more that the agent will like it. But sometimes you're just kind of in that middle bucket where the house was just like, meh. They're not excited about it. They're not excited about making an offer. It's not a definite no, but it's not a definite yes either. In that case, I just give pretty generic feedback like the house seemed fine. It seemed to be priced well. They just didn't love the layout or something that can't be changed. Thanks for letting us show. Kind of an idea. So typically, as an agent, you get more feedback when things are very wrong rather than when things are right or when things are just kind of like meh. So if you have a listing and you keep asking for feedback and not getting feedback, it's because you're middle of the road. If you get a ton of feedback, you're probably on the, hey, there's a lot of problems, or we're going to make an offer, but we want to kind of beat you up about it a little bit first. So that's kind of how I think about feedback is I want to set myself up for a better negotiation or be helpful if we're not going to make an offer.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially now I'm visiting a lot of properties. Uh, like, I receive all these emails and they don't tell you a lot. They just give you numbers and I'm like, which one was this? So I have to go back and yeah. And so, yeah, but I've been responsive. So I
I
feel
love
okay.
that. Well,
Okay.
and you should try to work out a system for yourself to remember what your buyers are saying about which property, because they're all
Exactly.
going to start to blend together. So my very low tech system is I always print out an MLS printout. And then when I'm scheduling it, I write the day and time that we're scheduling and any notes, like make sure to take off your shoes, don't let the cat out, here's the code to the garage, whatever it is. I write all of that on the front. And then as we're walking through, I flip it over and write notes on the back. It's
On the
probably
back.
also a good
So
idea to record some of these conversations. Yesterday, as a leadership team, we were just talking about how um, recording could probably benefit you more often than not in problems. Listen to this crazy scenario. And if the agent would have recorded it, it all would have gone away. So he went to a buyer consultation and he said, um, explain the buyer broker agreement. And he specifically asked, have you signed a buyer broker with any other agent or have they showed you homes, anything like that? This client said no. So signed this buyer broker, made an offer, it gets accepted. All of a sudden, we get a phone call at the brokerage from another brokerage saying, "Hey, I had a buyer broker with this client, and so uh, technically we should get the commission. You need to pay us that." Our answer was, "Well, technically, you're not. We negotiated our own commission." With this client, with this under contract, so you don't have a right to any of that. The buyer also might owe you commission because he signed two buyer broker agreements saying if he bought a house, he would pay two different agents 3%. So like you got to go after that buyer. But if we would have just had it recorded, it would have been as easy as saying like, "Oh, look, this client was unaware that he had even signed anything. You should question your agent a little bit better on how it was presented and how he signed it and all of those things." And so recording can be helpful uh, in all of this, but then it can be very helpful in feedback because then you can throw in a chat GPT and say, summarize this. You can remind yourself of things as you look through new listings and all of that. It becomes a system that you can use. So
Perfect.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the other one, how is the concessions, earnest money, like all of the totals, how do they add up when you are writing an offer?
Yes. So
What
when you write an
percentage is
offer, there's a
that?
little section. It's like section 3 or 5 or something. I can't remember. But with all of the money. So you originally write the
Mhm,
purchase price and like the paragraph part. It says we're going to be purchasing it for this much. You write it there. And then you're going to list out all of the other money. So you start earnest money, then like the loan, and then the cash. Those are the three that you usually fill out. There's also seller finance and other things like that in there, but it's typically what's the earnest money, how much is the loan, and what's the cash. So those three numbers should equal together to equal the purchase price, which is the bottom number. And so as you're filling out a contract, that's how it works. Now, if you're going to ask for closing costs, that's going to be an additional addendum, and that won't be in the Rep C. If you need closing costs, you will have an addendum. The FHA VA addendum has a spot for you to fill it out. If you're doing like a conventional loan or something like that, when you add an addendum on the MLS, there's a clause that you can fill out for closing costs. You just drag it over and it lets you fill it all out. So, um, if you want to, something very good in this is to actually practice filling out offers. Brittany and I were talking yesterday about how we're going to both start reviewing these past offers or fake offers that people want to make. And so if you're
mhm.
like, I want to practice something like this, uh, create an email or an offer, put it in an email, send it to me and Brittany and say, this is what I was trying to offer. Just want you to look it over, see if I'm missing anything. And that way you get a little bit of practice. So that way, if your client at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday is like, we want to make an offer, you can actually do it and feel good about it. Because if you send me and Brittany an offer at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, we're probably not looking at it until Sunday,
Mhm.
maybe not even till Monday.
Until
And
Monday. Yeah.
so you can get the practice and know that you are good at writing offers that way. But we're always open. I mean, Brittany will write an offer. She works business hours and she'll write offers during business hours. And then we'll look at any offer. Um, and I'm an anytime kind of guy, but it kind of depends on where I'm at, what's going on, all of the things, and how quick I am to help.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Um,
practice those, get good.
I have two
Thank
questions.
Okay, Kara, let's do it.
Okay, I have two questions. I haven't bought a house in a long time, but I have one girl that's a potential buyer and she's considering doing um one of the first time home buyer grants.
Hmm.
I think I talked to Jake yesterday and he was saying they will offer like a 3.5% um like for a down payment. And so that could be considered for the FHA. I think I remember him saying they may be paying more in closing costs or something like that. But if it's, I just looked at the MLS and it's like days on market are now up to 62. I feel like it was 54 just a month ago. So it's definitely like things are staying on the market a little longer.
Hmm.
Um, like I've never had to pay closing costs. I've bought three houses in my own past, and I'm sure I was always in a buyer's market. Like, are people, are all people still paying closing costs, or is that the time we're in, or I don't know.
From the seller's point of view or the buyer's?
But well, for the buyers. So like if she's gonna do this grant to put towards her house, it's her first house.
Hmm.
Is it common to say we're gonna use this and we want closing costs paid? Is that unusual?
Nope. Nope. Right now,
Okay.
I would always default to asking for closing costs. We are not technically in a buyer's market. It is more of a balanced market, but we went from such an extreme seller to the balance that it feels very much like a buyer's market. And who knows, maybe we're going to shift a little bit more into that buyer's market. And certain pockets of homes and areas might be a buyer's market or might be a seller's market, but it is very, very common right now to ask for closing costs. So there's two ways that you can get your closing costs paid for you so you don't have to come up with money. Number one is ask sellers to pay for it. And it's as easy as just sellers pay us the closing costs as part of the closing, right? Put that in an addendum. The second way is through the lender. They can actually put that into the interest rate. So you have a little bit higher interest rate, but you don't have to pay closing costs. And you can do a hybrid of these. So if you get some closing costs, but not enough, there's ways that you can work all of this. It all depends on the loan and what makes the most sense and do they still qualify and all of these things. But I would definitely ask for closing costs in almost all of my offers right now. It might be like if you're in a multiple offer situation, that might not make sense. You can always raise the purchase price to ask for closing costs if the buyers need it, even if you're in a multiple offer. And then as long as you don't go above the appraised price, you'll be fine. And you don't know that appraised price yet. So uh, you don't know, but yeah, asking for closing costs right now is so normal, and I would almost always do it.
I have one more question, sorry.
Yeah.
We're super close. Like we're just waiting on a bid for this commercial space I've been dealing with since March. And
Hmm.
we're super close to being able to sign a contract. Um, but he keeps saying everything's negotiable. So does like what do I do? Do I write another LOI or is he gonna have like how buyer or builders have like a contract for me to fill out? I mean, I'm kind of unsure what to go from here as soon as we have everything that we are considering.
Let me actually get you in touch with Ben Nielsen. He is one of the awesome commercial agents here, and
Okay.
he can better fill in the gaps for you
Okay.
um, with exactly how to do that and probably know that. I'll send you his contact info right now, and you can ask him some of these questions. And then if it gets too crazy, then you can also be like, Ben, please help. And uh,
All right, that's helpful. Thank you.
he will. Yep. Okay. Well, if you guys have more questions or want to get some accountability, I'll be in my office. Come hang out, come say hi. We'll check into where you are, how your clients are doing, and make sure you're on the path to get more closings. And then at 11 o'clock, we have team meeting, and we are going to go over client events. You should all definitely come because I am going to be talking about our next client event that we are doing as a productivity team and laying out basically our plan that I will later email you uh, so you can see exactly what we're doing for that. And yeah,
Is that sorry, is that today at
today at 11.
the meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lunch that I didn't want to miss. So
Shoot, Erica. Well, you're gonna miss this. Well, hopefully it records. And
yeah, the
if it does,
recording.
then Rich will throw it on YouTube here real quick. So keep an eye
Please
out for
do
that.
it. Do it. Do it. Thank you. They
So
usually do. Thank you. Oh, that sounds amazing. I'm sorry I'm gonna miss it. Yeah. I'll
thanks,
see.
everyone. Have a
Thank
great
you.
one. See ya.